Hello everyone and welcome to F1 Live. This is a channel which I will be broadcasting my live reaction to as many F1 qualifying sessions and F1 races this season I can possibly do. As well as being a big F1 fan, I'm a big football fan, so there will be some races and possibly qualifying sessions I'll miss because I'll be at the football, but other than that I will be broadcasting my live race reactions to them. And as you can see by the screen and the drivers at the bottom, I'm going to do a blind F1 2023 drivers championship prediction. As we're recording, this is the 7th of January, so we literally have no inkling of where the drivers are going to finish. We haven't seen how adaptable some of the new drivers are to the cars, where the cars are in a pecking order, etc. So I'm going to give you my feelings on this season by going off last season really, and seeing the progress teams have made, progress drivers have made, and I think this first one's quite self-explanatory. We'll be going from right to left, as it says, 20th to 19th, 18th to 17th, etc. So I believe 19th Albon and 20th is Logan Sargent. Reason being, Albon is a pretty good driver. I think he is a midfield driver. You know, I could see him Alpine, you know, McLaren, maybe. I don't. Could I see him going back to AlphaTauri? I mean, that car's not much better than the Williams at the moment, so I don't know what really move he could make in the future. But reason Logan Sargent being 20th is lack of experience. He's coming into a team which, for the last God knows how many years now, has comfortably been the slowest car. And as we saw in FP1 of Abu Dhabi last year, he'd already made an error, and usually in an FP1 session, reserve driver comes in, you don't really see him making errors. It's just get the laps in, get the data for the team, and you're seeing him making an error like that into turn one, locking up. And then, so that's more reason for him being 20th. Lack of experience. I feel like he might be prone to a few errors, but then the second season, I think he might be quite a lot closer to Alexander Albon. And more reason Albon being there is just the car's not quick enough. I think he'll comfortably ahead of Logan Sargent. There might be a couple of races where Sargent does push Albon, but other than that, I think Alex Albon will be in just a league of his own in 19th. He might, you know, every now and then, as we saw this season, he might be close to a top 10. He might get a top 10, but other than that, I haven't got anything else to say about that really. P18 and 17. I think that is going to be. This could be a handful of drivers. I'm going to go Yuki Tsunoda 18th, Nico Hulkenberg 17th. I believe Yuki Tsunoda, as we've seen in his two previous seasons, very accident prone, gets in a lot of tangles with drivers, quite a lot of errors like in qualifying, so he's already put himself on the back foot an awful lot. And then in the race he doesn't help himself, so I believe this could be his last season in the sport. The Nico Hulkenberg, he's experienced, I wouldn't say he's the quickest. I mean, I think they've got him in because Mick Schumacher was just prone to crashing the car every race and costing them a fortune when they're really not a rich team. So my reason for Nico Hulkenberg being 17th is he's not going to be the quickest, but he's going to keep the car out of the wall. He'll have a couple decent races, but I don't see him having a great season. And then 16th, I see Zhou Guanyu being 16th. I think he had a really good season. If it wasn't for reliability, I think he finished 18th in the standings. If it went for reliability, he would have been much higher up, maybe 15th, 16th. So that he proven himself this season. And if, you know, Sargent can have a season like Zhou Guanyu, then I'm going to be very wrong, because Zhou Guanyu on occasions was as quick as Valtteri Bottas, a bit quicker in qualifying. So Logan Sargent needs to have a season like Zhou Guanyu to prove himself. I think 15th is going to be Nick de Vries. I think these two drivers, after Zhou Guanyu proving himself, Nick de Vries proving himself in the Williams, I just think and also being a Formula E champion, Formula 2 champion, I just believe that these two are very equally matched. I think Zhou Guanyu might have the better car, but Nick De Vries is a better driver. So I believe that these two could be seeing each other a lot on the track. I believe the likes of the Alfa Romeo, the Alpha Tauri, Haas. They could be fighting for ninth, 8th, 7th in the constructors, and I think these will be fighting for the back end of the points or just outside the points. And I believe Nick De Vries will do Yuki Tsunoda in. I believe he might have a slow start to the season, but Yuki Tsunoda's incidents on track aren't going to help him. And when Nick De Vries gets up to speed, he will, I believe, walk all over Yuki Tsunoda. And Zhou Guanyu, he's not going to beat Valtteri Bottas, but he's going to put up more of a fight this season. So that's my reasoning for these two finishing 16th and 15th in the driver's standings. And as we move on to 14th and 13th, I've got Lance Stroll 14th, Kevin Magnussen 13th. I mean, to be honest, I could have put Lance Stroll 15th or 16th. I think he's a fucking shite driver. I really do. He underperforms so much. He's inconsistent. It's always Brad, the cars doesn't work. Brad, this, the tyres are, Brad, brake. Yeah, but no, Sebastian Vettel pushed that team on a lot in the back end of last season, and you had Lance Stroll doing fuck all. I mean, Abu Dhabi, he drove quite well on an alternate strategy to Seb, but Seb was on the worst strategy, so what can you do? I mean, says it all really. And then my reason for Kevin Magnussen is we saw him last season prove himself massively. He came in on around 1.5 days notice, 2 days notice. He split the Mercs. I mean, he proved that he never should have lost his seat in the first place, and if he has a decent car, he is a very good driver. So my reasoning for this is Aston Martin will have a better car than last season overall, so Lance Stroll will be able to push on and finish 14th, and Kevin Magnussen is just a very good driver, and if the car is as good as it was last season, if not better, he'll be able to maybe even finish better than 13th, but I believe 13th is whereabouts the car and himself will be able to finish. 12th and 11th, I've got Valtteri Bottas in 12th, and I've got Fernando Alonso 12th and Valtteri Bottas 11th. I believe that these two are very good drivers, very experienced now. Bottas is. I mean, Alonso's been around for donkeys, fucking ages. And I just believe the experience will help these two massively in cars where they don't perform the greatest. The Alfa Romeo reliably wasn't the greatest last year. Alonso has left Alpine, which was, better than the rest last year, 4th in the constructors, to go to a team that finished 7th, 8th in the constructors. So I don't see him getting into the top 10. But if the Aston Martin car improves leaps and bounds from last year, I could see him keeping in the top 10, beating the likes of Bottas, Piastri, Gasly, possibly Ocon, but I don't see the car being good enough for that. So I'm going to put Alonso 12th. I think he'll be very consistent, You'll see him, fighting for the back end of the points, and on some races with strategy going well, incidents, every now and then he might be better than the rest. He might be, 8th or 9th. Same for Bottas. It's all about strategy and luck for these guys, I think, because their cars aren't going to be quick enough, but they are quick enough, so they're going to be there to capitalise. So that's my reasoning for these two finishing 12th and 11th. 10th and 9th, I've got Oscar Piastri 10th and Pierre Gasly 9th. I mean, if Piastri can finish in the top 10, top half of this season, top half of the standings even, I believe that is a great season for Oscar Piastri. We saw last season Lando Norris almost single-handedly carry McLaren to 4th in the Constructors, which proves that if he has a good backup driver, a good driver that can consistently get in the points as well as him, he finishes 7th every race, every now and then 6th, got a podium, the only driver outside the top 3 teams to get a podium. If Oscar Piastri can be close to Norris or as good or better than Norris, then McLaren are more than likely to finish fourth in the drivers. I mean, constructors even. They're definitely be fourth in the drivers, that's for sure. Or will Lando. We never know. So my reasoning for Piastri finishing 10th is the car's going to be good enough for that, but the lack of experience, I feel like, will cause him to be off Lando, but not as far off as Danny Rick was last season. And I think Gasly will also have a slow start to his life at Alpine like he did at Red Bull. Obviously that Red Bull car is very one-sided towards a certain driver, where the Alpine isn't, and it will take time for Gasly to get up to speed. Once I think he gets up to speed, he will be quicker, or as quick as Ocon, but it'll probably be too late because they will be equally matched, which gives Ocon the upper hand. So my reasoning for these two finishing 10th and 9th is lack of experience for Piastri, and a new car for Gasly. I feel like he takes quite a while to adapt to a new team and new car. Then 8th, we've got Esteban Ocon, and 7th, we've got Lando Norris. I mean, Lando Norris has proven that he is one of the best drivers on the grid. I mean, he is better than some of the drivers he's better than Perez, he's better than Sainz, he's better than Leclerc. You know, he's proven that he's better than the drivers in the top teams. So he's got to hope that McLaren can either step it up soon, or he needs to hope that soon he gets an offer at a very big team, because we're seeing the potential he's got, we're seeing the pace he's got, but he ain't got the car really to prove it, because it's always him on his own in P7, P6, driving around doing nothing. So my reasoning for Ocon being 8th is, now that he's the leader of the team, he's not going to be having to get out of the way for Fernando when Fernando was quicker than him. The car's going to be quick enough to fight Lando and McLaren, but I think Lando's going to be too quick for Ocon. I think they will be closer this year, Ocon and Norris. They will be closer to each other on track, but I think Norris has got his number. I could see these two colliding quite a bit as well, actually, if they actually have got similar pace, because Ocon is a bit erratic, a bit rash, and we haven't seen Lando make loads of errors, but I wouldn't be surprised if, Ocon gets under Lando's skin if Lando cracks and, there's a few crashes there. So my reason for these being 8th and 7th is Lando's way too talented for that McLaren team, so they need to improve very quickly, or he needs to move on. But he has signed like a 5-6 year deal only like last season, 2 seasons ago. And Ocon, good driver in a good team, so I think 8th place is whereabouts he should be finishing. But it wouldn't surprise me if Lando does streak away, the 7th is his own again, and you've got Ocon, Gasly and Piastri all fighting for 8th. I would not be surprised if that ends up. Now in 6th place, I've got Carlos Sainz, and 5th place, I have got Sergio Perez. These two are simply just both number 2 drivers now. Perez last season proving himself to be a better number 2 driver than Carlos Sainz, and was a lot quicker than Sainz throughout the season, winning races. But now that Mercedes, I do believe, will be the quickest or the second quickest car, I believe that these two now won't be fighting for the likes of 3rd and 4th like they were at the start of last season. And after the halfway point, Russell and Lewis were fighting for the 3rd and 4ths, the seconds. I believe that these two will be miles off it in 6th and 5th, and every now and then you will see Sergio Perez maybe and Carlos Sainz, on the odd occasion. Every now and then Sainz was quicker than Leclerc, but I feel like it won't be enough. It won't be as often as it should be, and they'll be 5th and 6th for that reason. And then in 4th, I've got Leclerc. 3rd, I've got Max Verstappen. And the reason why I've got 4th is I don't really rate Leclerc that high, to be honest. He's a fast qualifier. He's great one-lap pace, but in a race, I know the Ferrari car last year weren't kind on its tyres, but I believe that he isn't, he is the 4th best driver out of these lot that have the cars to compete. If the likes of McLaren are as quick as the Ferraris, Lando will beat Leclerc. I could see Ocon possibly beating Leclerc. Bottas and Alonso I rate higher. So if Ferrari really do have a stinker and they're falling into the clutches of these guys, I see Leclerc struggling. I've got Verstappen third because I believe his racecraft is fucking atrocious. His idea of racing is, I'm just going to smash into people that are near me. I don't care. For example, Sao Paulo last year, Lewis's corner, Verstappen's miles back, he drives into him. We saw the day before the sprint race, Russell was in the same position as Verstappen. He backed out, lined it up, and got them moved in at the next corner. So I believe if the Merc cars have the pace, they will have Verstappen's number. I've got Russell being a very close second and Lewis winning his 8th World Championship. I've got it like this because I believe if Merc have the quickest car, they've got the two best drivers. I can see, I could possibly see one of these having quite a slow start to the season, possibly Russell. Last season, Lewis had a really slow start to the season, testing things out, car being, him having that hangover of last season and testing things out for the team to try and find the sweet spot of that car, which was an absolute keen dog. But I believe if they have the car, they will be able to beat Verstappen, beat Leclerc, beat Ferrari, beat Red Bull. So my own reasonings for Russell finishing second are, he's a very quick driver, but I also believe, as Toto Wolff said this season, if Merc had the car to win the driver's standings and the constructor standings, Toto Wolff did say Russell would become a second driver towards Lewis. Also, I do believe that Lewis has still got, that pedigree in the team even after a poor season. And that I also believe Lewis is still the best driver on the grid, even at the age of 37, 38 now. So my reasonings for this is Russell will become a very good number 2. He is the best number 2 on the grid. Like, he isn't a number 2 driver really. He is a number 1 driver. He will, in qualifying he was around half a tenth between the Merc drivers pretty much every single weekend. Where the likes of the Red Bulls and Ferraris, it's like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tenths. So my reasoning for this is the Mercs are going to be not dominant but quick enough to muscle out the likes of the Red Bulls and the Ferraris, and if two of them, because there's going to be two of them, when the two of them are there, they'll be able to out-strategy the likes of Verstappen and Leclerc, and that is my reasoning for Lewis Hamilton winning his 8th World Drivers' Championship and George Russell finishing 7th. Not 7th, fucking hell. 2nd. I hope he don't finish 7th, that'll be a very poor season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the 5th of March.